Get out!
Hello, tankers and tankettes. Time for another replay, and it's time for another scout replay. I know I did an ELC very recently, but this seemed worth featuring as well because it's quite a short one, but it's a good one, and it shows, I think, an underappreciated tactic that one can employ in a scout tank of sufficient mobility and with sufficient firepower. So this is one from the live stream. I'm on Ensk. Foch is in his 50B. Circon is in his T-57 Heavy. And I am in a position where there's some enemy scouts to take care of, but there's no artillery or anything. It's not a great map for a scout, this. So I'm already, the usual scouting things to do are a bit... there's not much, in terms of spotting and hunting. So I'm going to go to K0, maybe try and work my way up the 0 line and see if I can spot anything. I want to apologise for just how badly jerky this particular... I thought that T21 was going to... I don't know why I thought that T21 was going to make it through. But anyway, this particular replay file was... I recorded it, I even watched it at the absolute minimum settings. It was still this bad. It's just the replay file. I think, as I said on, I think it was the ELC replay, actually, maybe I had issues with that as well. Some replay files just do not want to play smoothly. I'm actually, well, it'd be great if I could just record every game live, but that won't work. Definitely don't have a big enough hard drives for that. Anyway, E50M, uh-oh, pretty sure I'm spotted. The fact he's stopping to aim at me, that missed though. Yeah, getting the hell out of dodge. This is... over an open field, I am toast. There is no point sticking around there. So I'm gonna go and have a quick look at the railway lines again. Maybe there's a scout trying to come down this way, you never know. There's still an Aufklärung Panther, but we know it's up in C2, so I... Whoa! Hello, 184. Let's not go in front of that gun. That's bad news. So our mediums are actually struggling a bit. They're pinned on two sides, so I decide to go a bit crazy and break the logjam. And actually, you'd be surprised how effective this could be. I distracted the E50M briefly. He correctly prioritised that I was not the big threat and went to shoot at other stuff, but he was low health anyway. This Leopard PTA is... look at him. There's a pair of other mediums, including one low health, but he chose to go for me, and that, I got some nice damage out that guy, but the real value there was I was distracting him and he was not shooting at our friendly mediums, and the fact that he missed me at point blank range, well, he's got to be feeling pretty good with himself about that. So the next threat is the T110, and this is the big threat because he's up in our faces. He's got a big gun. The enemy E50M, well, not too concerned about him because look how far back he was hanging when the rest were rushing forward. If he had been forward with the rest, this could have been a very different story. But as it is, yeah, E4's got a big gun, but he is severely outnumbered right now. E50M arrives just in time for the party, except now he's alone and outnumbered, and this is just free damage for me at this point. I can just sit behind this guy. Unfortunately, he's got an automatic fire extinguisher. But I get a few more shots in his rear armour. And yeah, it's a crappy little 57mm, except the 57mm I quite like. It's sufficient for rear and, in some cases side armour. In fact, that Leopard PTA, I could pen his turret. So having knowledge of the armour of the tanks that you're facing is quite useful. But it's just mopping up at this point. This enemy team was not good. And I really only chose this replay because it shows rather effectively what you can do in a scout tank when the normal scouting options are not available, or are, they're unsuitable in some way, or they're just not, there's no point in trying them. I don't see people doing it very often in scouts, which is a pity because it can be a very strong tactic. You are... quite frequently you will die in the process of doing it, but you can break a logjam this way. You've got... I don't know what it is. There's something psychological. People see a scout tank, they want to shoot at you, even if there are more dangerous enemies nearby. Now, good players will correctly prioritize and just ignore you. But there are a lot of less good players out there who will go, "Ooh, that's easy damage," and they will turn their turret away from your friendlies to look at you, at which point your friendlies can shoot them in the back of the head and not be at any risk of taking damage themselves. Now, that was pretty much an ideal situation for doing what I just did. It's not always going to work out. You will frequently die doing this, but if you if you can peg those situations, if you can say, right, actually this is a good time to actually run some interference, to actually cause a bit of distraction and help out our friendly tanks because they're in trouble here, you can actually have an impact that goes way beyond what your gun might be able to do, or what your final score might actually show. Although in that one, because I did actually quite a nice amount of damage, mostly against the PTA, that was I had the best score of that match, so I'm not going to complain about that either. That was lucky though, having such a soft target who was frankly a bit of a pancake. But it was rather nice, I think, that match. And yeah, I hopefully anyone watching this with a scout tank who hasn't really considered this as a possibility before, mixing it up, usually not a good idea, but sometimes it is. Sometimes being that distraction, sometimes running around like a blue-arsed fly and getting the enemy to point their guns at you, gives your friendlies enough breathing room to then, it can turn the tide of an entire flank, and that can turn the tide of a battle. So don't discount this tactic. Always keep your eyes open for this sort of thing when you're in a scout. So yeah, as I said, it was quite a short little match. Apologies for the replay quality, but again, as I said, there's not much I can do about it. If you liked the video, regardless, you can hit the like button, you can leave a comment, you can subscribe to my channel, and of course, as always, stay tuned for more.